Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN here, bringing you guys another review for Chainsaw Man. And now that Chainsaw Man chapter 106 is done in the books, we got a lot to talk about, even though this chapter was pretty straightforward in terms of being a setup chapter for the fights that take place in chapter 107. We've got Yoru making Mitaka eat her words about Yoru not being smart, because Yoru absolutely plays her like a fiddle in this chapter. And you've got Yoru staring down Yuko in her devil form after the battle lines have been drawn at the end of the chapter itself. So now that we got my initial thoughts out of the way, let's back things up and get into the recap before we go deeper into the review itself. So right away, you get this feeling that this chapter is going to have a bit of a darker vibe than the prior chapter, whereas the last chapter, Yuko casually revealed that she's been killing people and she has a devil contract with the Justice Devil. This chapter opens things off with a real ominous panel of the city landscape with the crows being shown on the telephone pole wires, which is our first sign that things are going to take a turn for the darker and that death is finally upon us, which Fujimoto is not going to disappoint us in that regard. That much looks clear, because by the end of this battle, only one of them, Yuko or Mitaka, is going to be left alive. The scene then shifts over to Yoru and Mitaka walking through the alley in deep conversation, and we see more layers being added to Mitaka's character, because we see her feeling a sense of responsibility for what has befallen Yuko. She asks Yoru if it's her fault that Yuko made a contract with the devil, to which Yoru basically says, "Why ask me the question to something you already know the answer to? Yuko told you she made a contract with the devil because she wanted to protect you," which leads to a great use of the eyes by Fujimoto in this paneling, where we go from Mitaka in silence in one panel to one that's a close-up of her eyes, and you can see the pain in her eyes just based off that one panel. No words need to be used here, because the close-up of the eyes, which appear to be looking downward, it says it all here. It's at that point that we see Mitaka continuing to hope against hope, looking for answers by asking Yoru, what will Yuko do to the bullies at school? Yoru, as always, is in her savage mode, and she looks like she's actually taking some enjoyment in actually tormenting Mitaka right here, because she tells Mitaka what we all suspected. Yuko is planning to go all school shooter mode on all the bullies at the school who bullied Mitaka. When Mitaka tries to take control of the situation, stating she's going to be the one that stops Yuko, Yoru pulls out her trap card, revealing that Yoru has been in control of Mitaka's body the entire time, and that there's no going back now until Yuko is dead. She says she's going to kill Yuko, but the way that she does so is very brilliant. It's one thing for her to tell Mitaka, "I'll kill you," which that would be accurate. Yoru's the one in control. She's going to be one that does the killing. However, she deliberately chose the words, "We'll be the ones who kill Yuko," which is a very classic manipulator move, saying that we will kill her, which in turn makes Yuko feel like somebody that Mitaka has a hand in her death, and it's going to make her feel guilt, which goes back to the way that Yoru's powers works. The stronger the attachment that Mitaka feels, the stronger that the weapon will become that she makes from killing Yuko, due to the shame and the guilt that Mitaka is going to feel. It's a very brilliant chess move made by the War Devil, which makes us as readers realize that while she did throw a bit of a fit earlier, Yoru is not stupid, and she's willing to think a few steps ahead, enough to the point where you can't underestimate her. Yoru states that she's going to make Yuko into a weapon, and that she's hoping to draw out the Chainsaw Man, because if a fight breaks out here, there's a chance that he reveals himself to the school, and even if he doesn't show off, then they at least get membership into the Devil Hunting Club. So it's a win-win regardless. And for Yoru, she has extra incentive because she doesn't want another human knowing about Mitaka and Yoru's connection. It's then that we see Fujimoto brilliantly playing around with the tonal work for the chapter in terms of the art in this chapter, by having Yuko standing next to the burning fire, which appears to be her burning the dead body in her backyard that she said she buried before. Yuko is drawn with half of her face shaded out from the shadows while she looks down at the fire, and in the bottom panel, we see that there are blackbirds, i.e. the crows, from the bottom right corner of that panel, flying upwards towards Yuko's panel, almost as if the crows are flying towards the likely to soon to be dead Yuko, which is very subtle foreshadowing and a very good use of setting right there. Now, after Yuko makes her way to the school, she's greeted with the sight of Yoru standing in the hallway with her sword drawn. Due to Yuko's ability to read minds, she realizes right away that Yoru is standing in front of her and it's not Mitaka. Not only that, but she realizes that Yoru is going to try to kill her. Yuko tries to bargain with Yoru, stating that they can fight after the bully's been killed off, but Yoru calls bullshit on this, stating that let's say we do agree to those terms. Yuko, you're just gonna run off immediately after the bullies are killed, because Yuko wouldn't want to be around when the devil hunters show up, and that also gives Fujimoto a bit of a backdoor, because do you really want to be the one that draws that chapter, having Yuko kill all the bullies at the school? People are really sensitive, especially in the West. Like, that might cause some fuss, but it remains to be seen if he goes that far. Personally, I hope he does, because fuck them kids, fuck the feelings. But taking things a step further though, we see Yuko highly confident in her chances for victory, stating she can read minds and therefore she knows exactly what Yoru's moves are going to be before she actually makes them, which leads to Yoru playing mind games of her own, trying to psych out Yuko, saying, hey, if that's the case, go right ahead, kill me. However, if you do succeed in killing me, you're also going to kill Mitaka by extension, which works up Yuko to the point where she states that she hates Yuko and she loves Mitaka, but she hates Yuko even more. And her body begins to start shaking as the devil power inside of her begins to start taking over. The glass begins to crack around them. Great use of paneling. And you see Yuko transformed, and at the end of the chapter, we get this brilliant double page spread where we see Yuko fully transform here. Now, there's a few things to take note of right here. While the paneling was creative in this chapter, like the panel where you see Yuko speaking and the speech bubble is hidden behind the frames on the window, the weight of that double page spread and the angle where you see the camera looking from the back of Yoru while she's staring down the transformed Yuko, that's absolutely brilliant. No words need to be said on this page. It's paneled in just a way to where you feel Yuko's presence is rushing towards you, and it's done in a way to where if you don't know any better, and even if you do know better, subconsciously you're thinking, wow, Yoru might be in trouble here. Very, very good to start playing with emotions right there. Now, the big question here though is, how far is this fight about to go? With the glass shattering in the hallway and Yoru being pretty damn powerful, how long will it be before Devil Hunter shows up to the scene itself? Yoru wants to avoid any type of possibility of someone catching on to the fact that she's possessed Mitaka, but at the same time, she's also banking on Chainsaw Man, i.e. the ever horny Denji, showing up at the last second and likely going to try to use some type of a weapon that she forms with Yuko's body to be used in battle to try killing him, or at the very least identify who the Chainsaw Man is and begin formulating her plan from there. Narratively, if we do see Yuko die, is absolutely needed for the story, and as Chainsaw Man fans, you know, do not get attached. That's a golden rule with this series, because we need to see the difference between Yoru making a weapon from someone she has no bond with, like she did when she ripped out the spine of the teacher and used the spinal cord as a sword in the first chapter of part 2 of Chainsaw Man, and we need to see how deadly a weapon is that can be made from someone Mitaka has a close bond with. This was merely a setup chapter, but this was needed here, adding more layers to the story, because we get into more of the craziness that is coming down later on as the fights begin to start rolling in. You need the build up for this. The big thing here though is, how far is Yoru from actually reaching her full power, and how many weapons does she need to forge before she takes on the Chainsaw Man? That's going to be very telling right there, how much of an arsenal she builds up before she faces Denji, because if we see Mitaka form multiple close bonds only for Yoru to start forging them into weapons, it's going to make her into a very sympathetic character, especially if she tries to keep people from getting too close to her in order to protect them from Yoru. It gives her as a character something to lose, and by extension it builds Denji up even more when he inevitably brings down Yoru. And it's because of the cruelty of Yoru, that's what makes these stakes feel like they're so high stake, because we're watching the ramifications of Yoru not being held in check by Mitaka, and what happens when Yoru's devil nature is in control. What can be bad for humans, what is worse for humans, and what makes humans suffer by default is the option that Yoru's going to choose whenever she gets the choice to choose. Add that with her childlike mentality of wanting what she wants, when she wants, how she wants. It's a crazy sign for how dangerous she can become, especially because she purposely made it a point to have inclusive language, using the word we over and over in order to guilt Mitaka so the weapons that she creates are even stronger. But the big question here is, why is the Justice Devil so confident that this time it's going to be different? Because last time the War Devil neg diffed it, which means that there's likely a strategy in play here. So my chapter question, you guys, is Yuko the best choice to be Yoru's first weapon formed from Mitaka's attachments? And is this the right time to kill her off, or should there have been more time for these two characters to bond more, or has enough been done? While you think that over, click here to watch these other Chainsaw Man videos, or click here to watch this other anime video you see on the screen right now.